Alright, can I just see? Yep, we are recording. Hopefully there's no crashing. I think I figured out what the problem was. I think it was the audio drivers for the new audio interface. So I reverted to the old ones that the issue I updated for was still present on the newer versions, so yeah. And I've done a few hours of recording in other games. But now I'm in Going Medieval. I'm not in Far Cry 3. Why is that? Because Far Cry 3 is not launching for me, and I have no idea why. I have tried verifying twice now. Once I did last week actually, and I haven't touched the game since. And then again right now, it just comes up and closes. Like I don't even get the little launch window thing where it just says Far Cry 3. That comes up, and then like I'll get another window that's like 1280 by 720 that never gets filled in unless it's just black, and then just closes. So it busted. I'll have to figure out what I'm doing next. Maybe Far Cry 4? I don't know. I do not know. Hopefully this doesn't crash, but it's like I have to think, okay, what do I want to play now? What do I want to play now? Well, I got Going Medieval still installed. Hasn't been a major update, but you know what? What the hell? Why not? Why not just continue? Let me see. I don't have much in the notes. Couple things. And there's some other stuff I'm sure I can talk about. So one of them is, and hang on, let's... Settlers are exhausted. Well, then go to sleep! I don't stop you. There. And I should also put down wicker floor. Yeah, so I really only have two things noted. One is definitely neat. Well, actually, they both are neat. Oh yeah, I need to expand that out. So what is this? Why do we just have a random wolf here? And can I do anything about it? Anyhow. My brain just partially turned off. Ego's Lab has shared, and what they wrote is in English. I know that they are a German outlet, and I'm actually, it's funny, usually when I see stuff from them, it is in the German. This was translated, not the best. It's readable, but some of it is like, I'm just gonna assume there was something lost in translation. One thing that Ego's Lab, you might know them from, is that it wasn't long ago, well, when the 12-volt high power connector was failing, they were the ones that really like dived into how it worked, and figured out what at least some of the problems might be. Well, now they're sharing that it is. Hang on, it just occurred to me I should. There. Vote that down too, so everybody's happy. Really? Leave it to a cat to do that, to force a door open. Anyway, they've shared information on... Now, I'm not sure how... This might technically be a leak or rumor, so I'm not sure how much attention to pay to it, but in any case... Well, I shouldn't say it like that. I mean, it might change. This stuff might change. Yeah, 100%. A 12-volt 2x6 plug, which from what I can tell, from what I could understand of it, I mean, is very, very similar to what we already have with the 12-volt high power. There are some changes to the specifications surrounding it, which some of those I don't fully grasp in part because I don't know what the current situation is with 12-volt high power. Sorry. But, and I don't know what I want to do next in this, by the way. I do remember food was a major concern, but I've got no idea what I can do with that. I should start building up places to like putting this inside, these outside, things like that. The main physical difference is the sense pins. So the high power connector is 12 like actual power pins and 4 sense pins. And depending on if these pins are to ground or shorted or whatever, the GPU or the power supply, I thought that the communication was on both sides, but I'm not certain of that. But it could tell that, like, the power supply can say, hey, I can provide up to 600 watts, and the GPU can be like, okay, I only want 450. Or the GPU can say, hey, I want 600 pows and 600 watts, and the power supply is like, I can only provide 450, and the GPU will be like, okay, I'll only pull that much. Okay. So what they've done, though, is they've actually pulled it out. Well, they've not pulled it out. They pulled the sense pins back into the connector more, which makes a lot of sense, because the idea then is they are less likely to make contact if the connector is not properly seated. Because that was part of the issue, was that it was possible to connect the thing and have it not properly connected. It was possible to put the plug in but have it not properly connected, which would cause it to fail then, and too much power would try to go into the yeah, I think I will try to use right here. Would try to go along too small surface area for the pins. Actually, I want it this way. Seriously? How do I not have that much wood? I got limestone at least. How much limestone do I have? How do I have so much silver? You know what? We're not gonna put... Work on that. Anyway. So by pulling the pins back, now if you have a bad connection, like it's in there an angle and not pushed in all the way, those pins are less likely to connect, which means it'll either say, hey, we're not connected, you can't pull any power in so it never boots up, or it'll be like, hey, I'm only providing you 150 watts of power, and the GPU will be either like, well, that's not enough and not run, or in theory could only pull 150 watts. I'm actually not sure. That would very much come down to the firmware of the GPU. But in theory, I would want GPUs designed, like if I were at NVIDIA or AMD or Intel. Right now, it would mainly be NVIDIA. They're the only ones using those connections. I would want it where it's like, if it says it can only get 150 watts, work at only 150 watts. The GPUs can, even the 4090 can run at just 150 watts. It's obviously not going to be full performance. It's not going to be full speed. But it'll work. And I would do that and just let it throw a warning, somehow via the drivers throw a warning. I'm saying, hey, this is a problem. I think that would be completely reasonable. Because it is, GPU hardware can definitely take less power. That actually would be good. Is there anything else I'd rather work towards? Yeah, I think I'll wait. So that is definitely a worthwhile improvement. One thing also that I'm not completely certain on, it seemed like from what I was seeing in Eagle's Lab's write-up, was that this should also have some level of forward and backwards compatibility. Not necessarily like it sounded like it might not always Like, you can't always put it when these new connectors in an old one or the old ones in the new ones, but that it is possible, it is feasible. I guess the way to put it is, it has not been designed to be backwards compatible or forward compatible. Well, and the older plug is not necessarily forward compatible, but it is possible that that will be the case. So enjoy it if you're that lucky, but you might not be. But yeah, so definitely good improvements there. Might as well let that die. I mean, why not? Why is that just sitting there? Okay, that's just temperature. The floor and such is fine. What is the temperature down here? 46. I guess that isn't too surprising. Why is that not made into a meal? Wait, what is... That is cooking material. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I want, and that's going to take to 20. Perfect timing. I'm going to pause this for now. Okay. I'm now going to... Yeah, that's true. But I don't have the wood. It is so weird not having this wood. Yes. Actually, no. They... Well... Oh, okay. See, you're not telling me stuff I need to know. Yeah, it's like, I want to do that. I don't... Really? You were impacted by being outside in... Well, okay. By being in the rain. It being outside shouldn't be a problem. You know what? We're just gonna do it that way then. Okay, so 2 walkway, campfire, well, about like that. Ah. There. No, here. There. And at least supposedly it'll be able to do all that. I also want the shelves, but I don't have enough wood. So, but that's something I'll put down there. Yep, had a feeling. Okay. Okay, so, yeah, and it looks like things are going fine. So it's just Far Cry 3 is now screwed up. Which actually, hang on. There. Just actually quitting out of Uplay. Oh, yeah, I should actually put in Windows, too. Okay. Oh, wait, no, just forever. Now... Outside in rain, it's not impacted. These guys are. No, actually, hang. No, we're gonna cancel that. If I can. I cannot. I was thinking instead I'll make it a floor. And then can start making this like multi-level, but nah, it's okay. It's okay. So now it's all happy. And I'm reasonably happy as well. Just checking, yeah, none of those are upset. Any of you... Yeah, you've just not cut any of that. Wood cutting... No, cutting plants. There we go. There. Yeah, so the other thing that I have noted, Intel shared this week, their plans... Well, actually a lot of stuff. Hang on, I want to quickly check. What is terraforming again? 45. Oh, jeez. Something like that. Anyway, yeah, so they've shared various, they will be presenting 7 papers and 1 course in graphics stuff, at places like SIGGRAPH. They named 2 others, like HPG and another I don't remember the name of that I'm just not familiar with, so I'm gonna mention SIGGRAPH and what I wrote up. But some really neat graphic stuff that they're talking about there. Improvements to path tracing to make it more efficient. And, well, it generally just seemed to be a... They've come up with ways to apply AI to hopefully accelerate performance, and potentially quite a bit. Like, they were talking about the potential of having... integrated GPUs capable of path tracing. There we go. Sorry, I also started focusing on the game again. Which, I mean, yeah, that would be a very big deal. An integrated GPU being capable of that. I should also expand this out. You know, I should actually just build this up differently. And it's like, if limestone is going to be my main resource, then yeah, I'm thinking do that differently. But one other thing that they're doing, that they mentioned they're doing, is something called neural graphics, which I will acknowledge I am not familiar with. Just gonna that, yeah, put that there. Ultimately, I'm gonna try to like get rid of this. But neural graphics, it sounded like, is taking advantage of neural training, so a neural network kind of thing, to best apply. Oh, I didn't realize I still had that pause. To do things like just making sure that certain. I was talking about I know I should have just like actually taken the time to read the entire paper, to download and read the papers, but it's just been busy. It's been a busy week and such for me. That is not what I meant to do. Damn it. Okay. If I do that, am I still able... Okay, yeah. There. What I'm gonna try to do is basically put this on a lower level, the stuff beneath that, and, yeah. And then the beds up top. Which actually, no, I should have the beds on the bottom. The beds being on the bottom will be helpful because that's what I'm going to want to expand out the most. But anyway, yeah, with the neural graphic stuff, it sounds like just ways of more efficiently compressing things, which, when you're dealing with path tracing and ray tracing, is definitely important. Because there's a lot of data involved with those things, with those methods, so yeah. I did not expect it to go that quickly. I'm going to take out part of this. Not all of it, though. I want to expand this out. So this is actually not built properly at the moment. Oh man, it's too long. I did all this wrong. I did all of this wrong. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm just gonna demolish all of it. Because it should... This stuff should just get stored then. Yeah, it does just get stored. I know, you can be quiet. Alright. Nope. I don't really have many options for doors, do I? Alright, there. Alright. Now it's... Well, yeah, that's true. One off. I am one off. How annoying is that? I want to put down a beam. In case you were one. Oh, wait, what? It can go 12? I thought it was only 10. Oh. Well, still one off. No, it is 10. Hang on. Yeah, that's 10. Why are you even suggesting it can go longer here? That makes no sense. Where... How's that all stability 4? Like, that shouldn't be. That actually should be reduced to instability right here. That's just weird. Alright, but it's still... 4, 3, 2, 1. So here's where I need to stick it. I'm mainly doing this just as to have the walls. Alright, there. And I do need to throw down the beds again. There. And I know I need to put in other things, but at least get this to where they'll be able to sleep. Interesting. There. Why is it not? But the beam is up. What? That makes no sense. Okay, did they really muck with stability? Because this isn't right. This is like not at all the behavior it's supposed to have. I guess it needed the walls up here, but that's odd. That's still very odd. Nope. That at least was funny. All right. There. There. No, I do want it that way. I think this is what I had. And then the stools. Anyway, yeah, with the neural graphics stuff, it sounds like, can achieve better compression there, which will make it easy to move the data in and out. But it was also sounding like it might be how it's rendered as well that allows it to be accelerated to be faster. I don't fully know. As I said, I would need to actually read through the PDFs that were shared. But it still is just, a very interesting thing, because they're talking about how, yeah, we might be able to get this to where integrated graphics will be capable of path tracing. That sounds awesome. Put that back down. Yeah, I mean, I know. They're gonna get in there. Do need to put down lighting. Oh, I can actually put it behind them. Didn't know that. Oh yeah, and I need to put down a roof. And why not try to get these aligned nicely? All right. Alright, I'm just kind of thinking, what else do I have to talk about? Talk about that. So with the server build that I did, beginning of the year now, I talked about, pulling media off of disks and such to put on there, so it's a media server, not just file server kind of stuff. Yeah, it's funny, I did that thinking, yeah, that'll be nice, I've been using it so much. Yeah, it is so convenient. But the main thing I've been using to pull the media off of my disks has been MakeMKV, and I, just when looking at some stuff, discovered something about it that's really neat. Okay, I'm actually, gonna force them to sleep. Because that's just getting absurd. That they're just passing out. So what I discovered is you are actually, when you enable the expert options, you are able to tell it what it should and shouldn't select by default. I most want that, but I will admit the fermenting would be a good idea too. I'm gonna keep with the wicker. Yeah, and that's definitely nice, because, like, instead of having to go through and turn off all these different languages, especially for subtitles, it can just automatically know these are the only things I want. Alright, and I do want to, like, put everyone to beds. I don't know if I can, though. I can. Can, in fact, do that. Nice. Oh, yeah, that's right. I had started that. To have an underground library. Wait, when did that happen? There's another animal here. Strange. No, you. Yeah, it doesn't need to be assigned to anyone. Yeah, it's definitely handy, because I have had to, like, I still have some discs to pull off, and things like that, and it's definitely handy. To just be like, yeah, just give me the English subtitle tracks. Oh, goody. Only the English audio as well. Ignore the lossy, because a lot of Blu-rays have a lossless audio track, but it also has a core lossy version underneath. Because not everything would necessarily supports the lossless. That's the, like, DTS Master Audio and the Dolby Digital True HD of the lossless. Why are these just not being hauled anywhere? Yeah, I mean, it does have a place. What are we looking at for research here? See, I want to get that, because then I can start filling in. Like, I could pull this up, which I think that's salt, and then put back in dirt, so it's not just a hole. Yeah, so I've been messing with that. I also have pulled off, I have a few television shows, 2 of them are animated. Like, 2D animation, not 3D. I do also have a 3D animated. But I started pulling those off again. Initially, I was gonna just try, hey, let's, re-encode this one with AV1. I mean, it came out nice, but then it's like, let me try tuning in, because I tuned in the COF somewhat anyway, with the AV1. But then it's like, let me try tuning in X265. I got smaller file sizes than AV1. Now, true, I tuned it in probably a bit more aggressively. If I tuned in AV1 more aggressively, that'd be great. But it's like, 265 still has advantages. It's faster. It's much faster to run, and it also enjoys greater compatibility. Meaning, the devices I have for playback cannot natively decode AV1, at least not for Jellyfin. It's annoying, but that is apparently the case. So it needs to be transcoded on the server, which it can do. That's not a problem. And in fact, fairly often, it comes out looking pretty good. But if I have it in 265, there's no transcoding needed. It just plays. So it's like, that's a nice advantage. So, yeah. Yeah. Does definitely make me think I need to pay more attention to tune. Well, I do and I don't. For that stuff, it made sense to try to tune in 265. How long have I been going? 40 minutes. It it made sense to try tuning it in, because when it's this kind of well, not always hand animation, but the 2D cell animation stuff, that should always compress nicely. So trying to tune in the CRF makes sense. But most of the stuff that I do that's live action and actually film, so there's noise, the tuning makes some sense, but it's also, some are still always going to want to take a lot of bits because of the amount of film grain, so yeah. But I'm still really happy with how it's been coming out. And I wouldn't bother going through and reprocessing any of this stuff. These television series, though, made sense. They're such an outlier for the rest of my collection. But it is definitely interesting how I've got, oh, why have these not been built? 9. The hay. And I still have, like, no means of getting it. I have to find that. Here. It's like, I still need to figure out how to get grass seed. Oh, they've been taking the hay, that's why. Well, anyway, yeah, it is just one of those, you really do need to tune it, which then also reminds me the whole, it isn't dead yet, but I feel like because of the state it is in, why did I do that? I should actually let that die. That because of the current state, it should die. The whole thing about it is AMD trying to squelch DLSS by saying, no, in these AMD-sponsored titles, you cannot include this or that. You cannot include DLSS. You have to use FSR2. And it's like, okay, I've still not seen anything about developers coming out and saying, yeah, they're telling us not to. It's like, we're talking about thousands to tens of thousands of people potentially that would know this information. And not one has decided, yep, I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna let people know. So that this can finally be answered and something can finally be done about it. But yet you still see people talking about it as though this is real. And it's still, like I was saying in last week or the week before, it might be happening. That doesn't necessarily upset me, because it's the value proposition for FSR is far superior to, that's just 15, to DLSS. Because it works on practically everything. Not everything, but practically everything. So if you implement that first, why would you bother with DLSS? And the funny thing is, I even had seen one thing, I think it was Kyle Bennett who shared it. And it was with the context of he knows somebody who has friends who are developers. And one of the developers was basically arguing that exact point. Why would we waste the time trying to implement DLSS when we've got FSR in there? And there's so many other things we need to spend our time on with a game. Like, there's so many bug fixes, there's so many optimizations yet to do. Once this is in there and it can satisfy everyone, why bother? And it is also, I'm sorry, the people that are still saying, oh, but DLSS is so superior, I won't use FSR, it looks terrible. It's like, you're not even looking at it then. I'm so looking forward to, and I'm almost done. I have the RTX 2080 yet to write up, and then the conclusion, and I would like to run through it again. Look through it again, but I'm almost done with The Witcher 3 performance analysis. But legitimately, they trade blows. They directly trade blows with each other. In image quality, FSR 2 and DLSS 2. So it's like, no, it does come down to the implementation, which is to an extent optimization as well, which is the word I'd started to say that is technically incorrect, yes. But it's like, we are in the situation where some games FSR looks great. Other games, it'll look like crap. Same thing can be said of DLSS, though. But at least with FSR, it is the developer can go in and make those tweaks. With DLSS, isn't that NVIDIA has to do it? Like, they have to hand over the new DLL? Because that's the thing, where people will just put in new DLSS DLL to go to this version. It's like, oh, now the motion blur is better. But I think I also saw, I think it was specifically with Cyberpunk, where it actually, like, going to a newer version of the DLL actually caused ghosting to come back. Like, it was version 2.23. I don't know, I'm just pulling it, I'm making up a number. That there was no ghosting, but 2.24 or 5, something like that, if you put that in, ghosting came back. So it was actually best to be back at the other. And it's like, I mean, that's... Huh? Why aren't you eating it? Whatever. Hang on, what? Okay. Yep. Alright, I need to start putting down shelves. I'm just trying to remember exactly where I was going with that. But yeah, I mean, it is just implementation. If developers working with it decide, yeah, it's just good enough as it is, and don't do any tuning, then yeah, it can look like crap. But that's on the developers. That's on AMD. Unless you want to argue that, no, AMD needs to do all this. It's like, why? Why does AMD need to have that responsibility? They made a tool that is open source, specifically so that... Okay. You know what, that's fine. I'm not gonna bother with trying to set that. I mean, it still is. They need, seriously, the developers of this, Foxy Foxhole, they need to really come up with, you can save these. Like, you can have, you know, specific, like, hey, this should only hold materials that don't rot. I'm just like, come on, why is this not in here yet? It really doesn't need to be. Anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's like, I'm... FSR, because of it being open source, and there is you can just implement it and it'll just work. But why is it not incumbent on the developers to, when they want to use it, putting in the extra work to make it work very well? I don't know why you want to blame AMD on that. Like, I see that as a bonus. The fact that NVIDIA continues to develop DLSS, that's awesome. But it's like, that I see as a bonus. Because it's like, they're not the ones actually putting it in the game. Although if that were the case, would people complain? Yeah, I really cannot help but feel like this is... People are just continuing to give this idea attention out of some just... They want to seem edgy. They want to seem like, oh yeah, see, we bash AMD too. They're not always friends. It's like, why are you assuming positives from negatives as well? Because it's like the whole AMD hasn't just come out and unequivocally stated this isn't happening. And it's like, okay, yeah, you can come in. You need to put in a new bed, but yeah, where the hell is it? Ah, yep. There. And I will grant, it would be nice if AMD did that, but at the same time, it's like... I mean, there are people that wouldn't make them happy. And it could be, yeah, marketing said one thing. They're the ones that came out with whatever the statement was, not unequivocally denying it. But it's like, that may have just been somebody in marketing making a bad decision for what to say. And them then not clarifying could just be they may just feel this isn't worth justifying, because it's like, let it just die down. Because sometimes that is the best thing to do with news, is just like, yeah, we're just gonna let it play itself out, because how much oxygen can this thing really have? Because it's just so absurd. I mean, what is it born from? What is this whole thing born from? Somebody just noticing, hey, there's a bunch of AMD-sponsored titles that don't have DLSS 2. That must mean AMD's trying to prevent it. It's like, you're leaping there. We don't know that. And just people are taking it up and running with it as though that can be the only explanation. It's like, no, there is this competing explanation of just, it's the best value. You implement that, now you don't need DLSS, now you don't need XeSS. I'm saying this is also kind of how competition is supposed to work, where if somebody is offering something that's a better value, that's what gets used, and everything else is eventually, dies slowly because it isn't offering that better value. How can any settler be exhausted? Anyway, okay. Yeah, I get that it's alphabetical, but really having it be in the order of their arrival would be good, because then you can very easily tell when it's somebody new. Anyway. I can stay there. Okay, I'm a little confused. What does this priority mean? Because it's not what I'm setting. Even though it is, I'm setting the priority. Wait, what? Didn't it say priority high on culinary when it was still at 2? But yeah, I'm just, some of it is, in my opinion, inappropriate journalism, that it is like failing to live up to journalistic standards, because it's still we're assuming a positive thing here when there isn't. And by positive, I mean that we know for a fact this is what's happening. And it's like, we don't. We don't. And at this point, I'm sorry, the fact that basically no developers have come out and said it is happening. This is 2 weeks now. Really, no one has decided to say, yep, this is happening. No one? I get that some of that would be under NDA, but it's also there are a lot of people that don't care. It just seems so weird that we wouldn't have such a statement. The closest I saw was the developer Nix's that did the Tomb Raider reboots. They came out and said something, and it's like, yeah, but this isn't as strong a statement as I think some people want it to be. Saying that because the 3 methods are all so similar, they just wrote a wrapper for it, so they can easily use whichever they want. It's like, great, that makes perfect sense. This is also a company that can develop on a AAA level, has access to resources. I think they also use their own engine as well, and they decided to spend the time doing this. That's different from other developers that are using different engines that they didn't develop, that might not have the engineering time to spend developing such a wrapper. I mean, it's like a developer from Nix is saying this, and I don't know if anybody asked, hey, so when are you releasing this wrapper open source so everyone can use it? I mean, it's like, isn't that, the appropriate response then in this situation? Because, I mean, if you're saying that, oh, well, we have to get this stuff used, we have to, well, if you're going to try to argue that, oh, well, see, then it's really easy, we should always see all 3. It's like, we don't know how much time they put in. To my knowledge, they've not shared it. Because, I mean, they could have just published that at any point. They didn't. So they value it enough that they're keeping it proprietary. So, I mean, it is just so weird to me that this tremendous obsession. I mean, it's like, and I just feel it is thoroughly unfair, and that it's based, its defense is inadequate. That it is just people trying to be hypey, trying to get so much attention, and it's like that this isn't actually reasonable. And let me put it like this. If I were to actually see at some point AMD state, yes, we have been doing this and we're changing that, I would write that up. If I were to see developers coming out and saying, yes, this is happening, I would write it up. If I were to see developers come out and say, no, this isn't happening, I would probably write that up. But it is still, to me, just such a rumor, and even then a low-level rumor, because it's like, hey, it's correlation versus causation. That's essentially what we're seeing here. And it's like, so long as it's still that, I'm not going to write it up. I don't think it's appropriate to. I'm just trying to think. What would be a different example of something that might make sense, like an alternative, an analogy for it. I guess that kind of works. So imagine there being a specific group, and there have been research groups that are behind it that did the original research on TAA, which is now like every game. That's what it is. And if I come in here, oh, this is actually SMAA, which is open source, by the way. FXAA is NVIDIA. I don't think it's open source, but they made it very open so anyone can use it. But imagine with TAs, if that was an NVIDIA technology or an AMD technology, and that's in all these games. And it isn't? MSAA. Like, seriously, MSAA seems to have vanished from a lot of modern titles. It would be like saying, well, clearly that means that if I used NVIDIA as the example here, it doesn't matter. Company, clearly that means the TAA group is just paying all these developers to not use MSAA, even though it's superior in these ways. And MSAA is superior to TA in some ways. It's also inferior in some ways. They're two very different technologies that try to achieve similar goals, yes, but they're quite different. They both have certain advantages and disadvantages. But no one is complaining. I mean, true, there is no hypothetical TA group, but no one is complaining about it as though, it's like, oh, there is some conspiracy here. And it's like, that's essentially what people are trying to accuse AMD of, a conspiracy, when there's zero evidence of it. And it's just so ridiculous to me. And it's also, I will say, I would like to see, and I'm going to save and actually stop. I would like to see MSAA come back. Wow, that saved very quickly. It's like one thing's when I did that anti-aliasing article, however long ago it was, and I don't want to look, I don't want to know how long, I know it's been years. I mean, hey, no crashing. MSAA and super sampling, and also adaptive, stochastic sampling. I have run into adaptive sampling that I think is related, but anyway. Those are like actually attacking aliasing. They are true anti-aliasing methods. TA isn't. Well, it kind of, in some ways it can be, but it isn't guaranteed to. It's closer than SMAA or FXAA or MLAA. It's closer, but it is not a true solution to the aliasing problem. The aliasing itself comes from not sampling at a high enough frequency. Only MSAA and SSAA actually directly attack that. Stochastic sampling does kind of as well, not in the same way though. It's changing what an aliased pattern looks like, so you don't notice the problem. So you don't notice aliasing, but it doesn't actually solve the problem. TA though, that's if it's jittering the sampling points, then it kind of sort of is. attacking that problem, but it's only increasing the frequency, the sampling frequency, over time. So it also isn't solving the problem. So it's like there are advantages where MSAA can knock out aliasing that TAA can fail at, depending on how it's implemented. MSAA is subject to temporal aliasing in some instances, not always. So TA has an advantage there. But it's like, it's what you're looking for here. And yet, no one complains. I mean, they'll say, oh, this TA implementation is lousy, but they'll talk about then the implementation. They won't say, oh, we need to abandon this and we need to have MSA. Why are you doing this? Who's paying you? There's none of that. There's none of that nonsense. That's exactly what some people seem to be doing here. I will add one thing, though, with TA. It is, well, no, it doesn't have to be easier to implement than MSA. It truly doesn't. But TAA, it is closer to a post-processing method, so it does make some things easier, but it's also, and I do believe that this is part of what's going on, and might also be, it could suggest that there is going to be that there is some level of conspiracy behind it, but it's not necessarily that negative. It is, TAA should more naturally work with ray tracing, because supersampling, multisampling, you can't. Increasing sampling in rasterization is easy and cheap. Rasterization is so freaking fast, you've got no idea. That it is ridiculous. I mean, here, the sampling work of SSA4X and MSA4X is identical. Okay, it's the same number of samples. Where MSAA improves its efficiency is it doesn't run the math on every sample. Okay? If it's like, hey, these samples are all in the same object, it only works on one. So it goes down to one. It's that shading work. That is where MSA is so much more efficient than SSA. The rasterization is so cheap. I mean, I could potentially see people going to like, yeah, MSA 16x, 16 times the samples, and just intelligently filtering or not, intelligently shading with all of them or not. I could see that. No one's doing that, but it's like you could do that, and the shading is going to be the problem, not the sampling. You can't do that with ray tracing, though. You can't arbitrarily decide we're going to throw more rays at this, or more rays and have them jittered in position. You can't do that. It's still so costly that you can't do that. So you need to rely on something like TAA. That's either amortizing the cost of additional samples over multiple frames, or is just a post-processing method, so it's done after the fact to try to solve this, which is also kind of what DLSS does via the upscaling, and also how it tries to fill the detail in, but also the denoising. The denoising stuff that would be taking place before DLSS to try to take the very sparse number of rays. Quake, the Quake 2 with ray tracing, and also the Quake 2 RTX, I'm pretty sure there is a way to turn off the denoising, and if you look at that, you will see just how truly sparse ray tracing is. Like how much the denoising is filling in the detail. It's fascinating. Just how little information ray tracing is actually providing to the final color. But anyway, I could see there being a kind of conspiracy. And it would be a light video. Because TA is going to work better with ray tracing. So if there is a genuine effort to move away from rasterization to ray tracing, and I kind of doubt it, I'll get to that. I could see that being part of the reason why TA is pushed. Because like, no, let's figure out how to get this working in there. Let's figure out how to work with it well. So that when we make the move to ray tracing, we already have that experience. I could see that being the argument. That's right. Why is it that I don't think we're going to move fully to ray tracing? Because plenty of games don't need it. Does this game need it? Does Going Medieval need it? No, it's fine with rasterization. And most games are. So yeah, I reject the notion that we will go to a ray traced or path traced future. It will always be we got everything, which is great. Use whatever is most appropriate. But it is you have to make sure it's the appropriate thing to use. And that is part of the issue that I also have with ray tracing. I know, changing the subject from where I was. Because I've seen like people talk about how, oh, well, this is only doing shadows, so that's easy. Who cares about that? It's like, shadows are actually a hard thing to render. They've gotten very good at rasterization. But having accurate shadows is actually a big deal. It really is an achievement. So I get how reflections would be nicer, but not every game needs reflections. I mean, it's like MechWarrior 5. When they implemented ray tracing there, I'm looking at it, it's like, where are the reflections? On what little polished metal there is on these mechs. So it's like, so if I get right up next to a mech and I can look, it's like, hey, I see my reflection. I turn off the ray tracing, it's like, okay, it's polished metal. Did I lose anything? No! I lost a lot of performance when I turned on the ray tracing for this effect that literally is impacting like 5% of the total image. It's like, there was no reason for that. But people are like, oh, but we have to have it. No, you don't. The ray trace shadows would have been nice, except I don't think they were being rendered very well. They produced, as I would call, very hard-edged shadows. And it's like, these are big mechs. They're bigger than my house. I can stand outside and my shadow will be softer than these things. It's like, I'm so much shorter than these mechs, but my shadow will have softer edges. But when ray traced in MechWarrior 5, they don't. They're hard-edged, despite being like 10 times my height. It's like, that's nuts. That isn't how that works. The further away it is, the softer the edges should be. The further the shadow is from the object. It also the distance from the light source, but we can just assume that it's approximately the same as distance between the Earth and the Sun for any of those worlds. But anyway, it's still like, this is just... We need healthy debate and competition here with ray tracing, rasterization, and I do feel that we're not having the healthy debate with the ray tracing. That's my point that I was just making. That we're not saying, does this effect actually need to be ray traced? Does it provide an actual image benefit? I just gave an example of where I do believe it does not, and yet it is still in there. The shadows would be nice, and they could probably do something to improve that. Keeping the shadows would be fine, but it's like, there is that, and then there are other games where the ray tracing can be very good. None are coming directly to mind, but it's like, you need that healthy debate there, and you need ray tracing providing competition to rasterization and back, which is the case. That truly is the case. It's felt most with performance. But it's also with FSR and DLSS. Right now, we do have healthy competition there. But I don't think we have a healthy debate right now. I don't think that we're having a healthy and honest debate because people are taking a correlation and assuming a causation that is not necessarily the most reasonable cause. As I said earlier in this, and I've said previously, FSR has better value than DLSS because of its broad support. And it's like, that is absolutely true. So it is a reasonable cause for titles to have FSR and not DLSS. It is completely reasonable. And if it's an AMD-sponsored title, then it might be we'll start with FSR. They might have some money to help them. They might have engineers from AMD helping them, or at least they have a pipeline, a communication line back to AMD asking, hey, how do we do this? So they might just do that first, and then it's like, well, we don't need to worry about DLSS now. We got everyone covered. Because it's the value thing there. It's like, that's good. That's competition. But we're not seeing this healthy debate, because it seems like every time... Like, part of this is Hardware Unboxed did a video. I've not looked at them. Because I don't want to. Why would I want to see this? Because I feel that the whole thing is dishonest, as I was trying to say. Or at least dishonest in the sense of not living up to journalistic standards. That this presenting it as true, presenting this as the cause, even though that's not necessarily it. And maybe it's just, it's the thumbnails, the titles, and it might be that, no, it's a very honest debate that they are having there, but it's like, if they're presenting it to me as it's in such a way that I don't trust that, why would I look? But it's also, I was seeing teasing that they were sharing, like, hey, want to see a really heated debate from fanboys? Heated arguments from fanboys? Check out this comment section. It's like, you're just insulting people. That's all you're doing here, and you're diminishing them. You're denying a healthy debate here, an honest, healthy debate over what's going on there, by just ridiculing. So that is a problem. And I do feel that that's, as I was saying, that is a problem there. That is such a problem. So yeah, I mean, and I don't say that as I'm calling out Hardware Unbox specifically. I know that there are other places doing it. It's just that's the one that I recently saw, and I did see them making those comments as well on Twitter about, hey, look here for all the fanboy arguments. It's like the whole FSR's has a better value proposition than DLSS. That's not fanboy. That is not fanboys. That is a reality. All right, and if they're not always carrying that forward, which based on how they were titling that video and how they're now acting here, they're not. That is, I am only guessing. I am only guessing because I've not looked. But I don't want to give them those views. I don't want to give them that view. If you want to, go right ahead. Please do. Please do if you want to. I'm just saying I don't want to, because why should I add to the view count when what they're suggesting to me for what I can expect from them, I consider to be inappropriate journalism. It's like where they're not living up to a journalistic standard of, hey, we have to consider all this stuff. That maybe it is happening, but it's also there's this alternative answer that is at least as reasonable. And I'll end with this. The way I envision mentally Occam's razor is as an actual knife, as an actual razor that cuts at threads that support a proposition. The thicker a thread, the stronger it is, the harder it is to cut through. Whereas the thin ones, you cut straight through. I see these both as at least equal thickness. The value proposition, and I might be biased here, I think might be thicker. I think it's actually going to be harder for that razor to cut through than the AMD Pang. But I could be wrong there, because as I said, I might be biased there, but I think that they are still equal. That if you were to just have developers that have no connection to AMD or NVIDIA that want to do a game, and you present these technologies to them, and they understand that, hey, it's going to take time to implement this stuff, time that they can't spend doing other things, I do genuinely believe plenty of developers would be like, yeah, we'll just go with FSR. Do you want to try to implement multiple? Well, we'll start with that. If we have time, we'll do DLSS. It's like, I do feel that is what would happen without any external pressure towards one or another, one technology or another. So it's like, we have these two threads that they might be equal strength, but I feel like with too many places are just like, nope, it's only this one. It's like, no, there's two. You have to present them equally because they are equal. I did say I would end on that, so I shall, but I could probably keep ranting. And I will completely say that's a rant, not a ramble, because it does annoy me. It annoys me so much because I do see it as this isn't how it should be done. That I'm trying to hold myself up to these standards, and I do try to, I do have a character flaw where I do try to expect similar, comparable standards from others. So when I see that failing, I am bothered by that. So, and as that is a character flaw of mine. I know it is. But yeah, it's just all I can say. All I can hope is that it dies out. Maybe by just the oxygen finally running out, or maybe AMD makes a definitive statement, a positive statement, one way or the other. One way or the other. And if it is that they have been paying to try to stop this, then, you know what? They can just come out and say that they're doing that. I don't think many people are going to be that upset by it, because it's like, if you're spending the money that way, how can we say no? It's not hurting anything. Because it's not like NVIDIA users can't use FSR. And it also can then be a question of, okay, well, how's that money being used? Because is that also being used to tune it, to optimize it for the best performance and the best visual? So it's like, it's not like money changing hands is a bad thing in this instance. Transparency would be good, though. But it might also be that they say, no, we're not paying them to do that. They're just choosing to do that. And here's reasons why. It's completely reasonable for them to do this. They could do that. The fact they haven't is a problem, and that can just be that their marketing department isn't recognizing the storm that they're in, although it is very possibly a 10% teapot. It's just people keep pouring more into the teapot. It might just be that they aren't figuring out how to handle that properly, but it's like, this is just... Yeah. Alright. Now I'm actually going to end it. I have no idea what I'm going to do next week. I am tempted, since literally just does not launch. Far Cry 3 is just not launching for me. I might just abandon it. I don't know if I want to go to Far Cry 4, though. In theory, that would be what I'd go to, but I just don't know how I have that. Okay, I only have... Oh, duh, yeah. It is on Uplay, but it's just, is that going to perform better? Is that going to give... I don't know. I'll try to test with it. It's just, I also don't like having to go use Uplay directly. Or Ubisoft Connect, whatever it is. But maybe I will do that, maybe I won't. I don't know. I will think on it. There's also just... I'll be honest, I don't know how much the actual playing during these games makes sense, so maybe I'll just come up with a different format. Where maybe I do just talk, which would be really stupid. I mean, I need some sort of video stuff. You know what? I know one thing I could try doing. I've thought about it. I'd have to live stream it, though. I'd have to. I don't know. One idea that I had a while ago was... I know I'm making this video so damn long. Was going through and like answering questions with my performance applet. Since I put all of the data that I have collected over the years, because I have it all in different places, I actually pulled that all together so I can actually have the applet load up any of the frame time data I've collected over the years. Any of it. And it's sorted by if it's a review, a performance analysis, or a miscellaneous article. Like the anti-aliasing article, for example. So I could do that. I thought about doing that months ago, a live stream, but I don't know how many people would actually look at it. Yeah, I don't know. But there's I could maybe still do some stuff with that. I don't know. Or I'll just get Far Cry 4 working. I don't know. There's just things for me to consider over this next week. I do plan on still trying to have something next week, but who knows? Maybe I'll just cancel. I don't know. I will think on it. All right. See you next time.